59. And we're still in the top 5 murder rates in the entire world. This is 212 countries, and they're at 8. And our target for 2030 is just to get down to 10. Fine. Fair target. That's a massive difference between 59 and 10. And then when we talk about recidivism, so that is actually rehabilitation not working, so you go back and then commit another crime. We wanted to reduce that percentage. In 2007, it was 20.8%. So we already have a crime problem. Oh wait, one second. What? Back on Facebook. Oh yeah, we're back on Facebook, so that's great. Hi Facebook, we're back. The Mevo overheated. Jamaica is too hot. I'm going to actually talk a little bit about that afterwards. But so recidivism was 20.8%, and so that's a really high. That's an extremely high rate. 1/5 of everybody who committed a crime and went to jail came back out and committed crime again. 1/5. And we already don't catch most of the people, right? So most people are not caught, tried, and locked up. So they are out there still committing crimes. And of the ones that are actually caught and locked up, when they come out of jail, 1/5 of them go back and commit a crime. You can see why that would be a problem. That really would be a problem. So the 2012 rate was to try and bring it down to 20%. 2015 target, less than 15%. And then 2030 target is to get that below 10%.
The irony is that we need new, better jails.
Yeah, well, I like that. So Kyle says the irony is that we need new, better jails, which is true. If you go and see a lockup at a police station or go and tour like the Tower Street correctional facilities, gun court, we really unfortunately treat our prisoners who are clients, remember, they're clients of the correctional services. We treat them bad. We treat them like the dregs of society, like they're less than human. And that's unfortunate. It reinforces this second-class citizen belief. And so they come out thinking, well, if the state doesn't care about my welfare, doesn't care about me, we need to go sort that out. So I get a question from Jay Tread, are jails in Jamaica privatized? And that answer is no. That is very much a US thing, the private prison industry. Jamaica does not have privatized prisons. That also explains why we have lack of resources. When our country is constrained, before we had our IMF deal, in 2013, we had to think about this. We were paying out roughly 60 cents. For every dollar revenue came in, we paid out 60 cents in just debt between principal payments and interest payments. 60 cents out of $1 came in. So if you have a house, let's say you run your house budget, and you're able to tax $100 from the people in your house. So you get $100 into the house, but $60 immediately had to go out and pay your mortgage payment, right? So that covers the principal and interest. That left you $40 to do everything else in your house. So you need to send your children to school, so that's the education budget. You need to take care of health care, so that's your health insurance. You need to feed the people. In the case of Jamaica, that would be, obviously the agriculture side of things. You need to have the alarm system, security, so that's the police side of things. I mean, you could just go through the list, but if you think of a government budget, like a household budget, and only 40% of the money is left afterwards to actually run the household, I think we can agree that, man, that's going to be tough. Thankfully, our debt to GDP ratio has been falling nicely, and we've now gone from over 140% debt to GDP ratio to now just under 100, 98, and we're on target to hit 60% debt to GDP ratio within the next 5 years, possibly faster. That frees up capital to now be used for different things, and that's why we can increase something like the national security budget. We should increase healthcare, increase in the education budget. Are we increasing fast enough? We can debate that, but the point is we now have to first create fiscal space to do that, and that's why we had a JDX, the Jamaica Debt Exchange, and then we had the NDX, the National Debt Exchange. We had 2 debt exchanges where no external creditor lost any money. They were kept whole, but local investors, pension funds, banks, all of us, had to give up some of that interest, and we extended loans. But that fiscal space allows us to invest in the things that we need to do and execute. But again, if you are in the jail, I never forgot. So back in December 2000, I shot my first film in Jamaica. I graduated from University of Miami, came back home to play football, soccer, with Real Mona under 20 tournament. And mom bought me a script writing book because she knew I wanted to eventually do a film. I really wanted to film, and music is important. And that's what, if I had all the money in the world, I'd be helping people create films, especially with Caribbean content as well. And I I wrote a script called The Officer, and so we went to shoot around different parts of Jamaica with mom and dad's high 8 camcorder. I have dated myself now, but it was a high 8, not even mini DV, high 8 camcorder. And we actually shot some scenes down at the Matilda's Corner police station, which is beside Campion College, where I went to high school. And that is one of the police stations that is closest to us. And they let me see the lockup, we did some scenes there, and it was fascinating though when I remember I spoke to one of the prisoners, and he was telling me how jail is a waste of time because they come out smarter. I was like, I don't understand. He's like, oh well, I got caught because I was walking on a zinc roof, made noise, and they were able to call the police, and they caught me. Now that I've come to jail, the guys asked me what happened, what I did. I was trying to burgle somebody's house, I'm a burglar, and I got caught. And they said, oh, well all you need to do is just look where the top of the nails are, right? The zinc nails are very big heads, and you just step on the nails, because where the nails are is where the beam is, and then you won't make any noise. And he learned that in jail, so he's going to come out smarter. That can't work, right? At least in the United States, a lot of people go to prison, spend time there, and they're coming up with degrees. They are coming up with degrees. So what are we doing here in Jamaica in the same way? Are we looking at the Nordic countries as well, and the rehabilitation side? If you treat somebody like an animal and cage them, do you expect them to come out liking you? Do you expect them to come out wanting to help the country or be positive? We need to just like straight up common sense. If you want to discipline your child and get them to behave better, do you lock them in a room behind bars? Because I know that don't work. That cannot work. You have to take a parental view at those kinds of things. I think that's just a no-brainer personally. So we need to do that. At the same time, it takes resources. It takes cash to care. The diaspora certainly wants to provide cash. International financial institutions and lenders want to provide cash, but they're worried about graft and theft. You know, the running joke I've been given, I actually don't remember who said it to me, but these are politicians here that have interacted in Jamaica. And they said, yeah man, they went to Brazil many years ago. A Brazilian politician picked them up. And they went to a meeting, it was great, and then they went to dinner. And the person had like a Mercedes-Benz S-Class, right? Nice car. It was at the politician's house, nice house, and the Jamaican politician asked them, wow, you know, how have you managed to do so well? Did you make your money before politics or after? It's like, oh man, since I got into politics, I've done really well for myself. And so the politician asked, how? And they said, oh, I'll show you, meet me tomorrow. So I picked them up the next day, drive out to a location and said, hey, you know, you see that nuclear facility? So Brazil actually has a nuclear facility that isn't working. And they say, yeah, look at that nuclear facility. And they say, yeah man, I see. And the Brazilian say, 50%. I was like, I don't understand. 50% of the money went into my pocket. So that is a joke. A few years later, the Brazilian politician comes to Jamaica as a guest, goes to a conference, sees the Jamaican politician. That politician is now doing really well. Oh man, you've improved, you really improved, great. What are you doing? And so meet me tomorrow. And drives the Brazilian politician out, surveying the land and say, you see that dam over there? The politician is like, what dam? And he say, yep, 100%. That is a real fear. If you look at sub-Saharan Africa and the money that has gone over there, donor money, international money, whether it's, you know, World Bank, all this stuff, that is a real issue. Everywhere in the world is an issue. This is an issue in China. Like, they are cracking down on that in a big way. There is a fundamental problem when and we see it right now, we have scandals in Jamaica. Let's just admit that. When there's a lot of money to be gained, and you decide that you're going to put yourself first and ahead of the country, ahead of the taxpayers, ahead of your children who are going to inherit this country, you will dip your hand in that pot and take it, unless there are controls in place to prevent it. So yes, we need more resources. The diaspora can write checks all day. If you did a bond around infrastructure, security, education, healthcare, the diaspora would take up that bond with one caveat though. Where is the independent entity that's going to track how the money is actually spent? Because government contracts have a usual way of having cost overruns, sometimes legitimate. We have a way of contracting people without putting it out to bid and tender for the public, so it just got to your brethren, you call them, tell them how to apply, you give it to them. And so that's why when you look at our previous OCG, our Contractor General Greg Christie, and Greg will talk about this stuff all day long. He was extremely focused on contracts within government and how they were being put out. So we need to improve. the prisons, for example, we need to improve the security forces. The diaspora can donate, can cut checks. But we have a real problem. Where the money going? Who is auditing it? Who's reporting on the money? When we look at the scandals that's going on right now, whether it's, we talk about Petrojam and what that looks like, we talk about is in Manchester with the local government over there. We're looking at right now Ministry of Education and CME. You cannot divorce yourself from those things. We in the diaspora are paying attention. The US might not be paying attention. CNN don't care. We care though. We're reading this stuff, and our family members in Jamaica are telling us, right? So if the perception is that it's corrupt and that the money is actually going to be siphoned off, then no money is going to come from the diaspora. So we have to fix perception. And the reality isn't that it's that corrupt. There is corruption, but the perception is that it's horribly corrupt. And so we need to deal with that. And that's why it was important, thankfully, that the Prime Minister's stuff got sorted out with his filings. The filings were late, but they're there and they're now published. We need more of that transparency in Jamaica. We can't worry about other countries. We need to stop comparing ourselves. Well, in America this happened. Brazil is worse. It don't matter, you don't live in Brazil. You trying to build Brazil? No. We're trying to build Jamaica. So we need to focus on what's happening here. We need to take care of yard and deal with it. And don't blame the diaspora. Don't blame me for not writing a check or not helping to raise money. Like, where the money going? Unfortunately, thankfully, the children at Jamaica's National Children's Home are all safe. Nobody died in the fire recently. That's around the corner from right here. I'm pointing in the direction of the children's home. I grew up volunteering there. We took in a young man from St. Monica's Children's Home in Chapelton, put him there, fostered him, put him through Wolmer's Boys School for high school. And so I'm very familiar with the area. The morning after the fire, I was there. I took video, put it on Instagram, shared it on Twitter, and told people that we need to find a way to help rebuild this thing and probably build it better. And I did speak to them. They have a plan. They've had a vision for how they want to scale it. They were having trouble raising the funds. But in the past, they've had people use their name to go out and raise money for the National Children's Home, and they've never seen a dime of the dollar. That is actually our biggest fear in the diaspora, is that somebody comes to us with a project that we want to support. We give the money, and then there's no accountability for that money. How is it spent? Where does it go? What is the result of the money being spent? So we have to deal with that. Marlon Hill, who was on the advisory board, who brought me in, would always talk about governance. Governance is the single most important thing. So if we can have good governance, which means you have transparency, we could raise a ridiculous amount of money via diaspora bond, just like what Kenya has done. And what Israel does on a regular basis. India has done that as well. There are clear examples. Mexico has done it too. Clear examples, we need to follow them. Let's stop pretending that Jamaica are perfect. When you come and tell the diaspora, say, no, we're no better than you, we're not going to agree with you. Because you have a crime problem, you have a corruption problem, you have an inefficiency problem. Don't take it as us looking down or being, mean. Like, you first need to confront your problems and then you admit them. And then, like a 12-step program, I've never been through it, I've read about it, but you first admit you have a problem, then you can start solving the problem, and not just a symptom. You need to identify the root causes of the problem and then effectively deal with it. And so I think Jamaicans everywhere around the world, but especially resident Jamaicans, need to stop and say, we have a discipline problem, we have an efficiency problem, we have a crime problem, we have a corruption problem. We're not going to take it no more. It's time to sort it out. The day that happens is the day that you get a ridiculous amount of support from the diaspora. Financial support with the right vehicle, the right partners, transparency and good governance to help build a better Jamaica. And I think we're all on the same page that we want to build a better Jamaica. So I see somebody saying blockchain. I don't think blockchain, the data that goes in is all that matters. It doesn't matter if it's blockchain don't solve that problem. Blockchain actually reduces transparency in the sense of whoever is putting the data, I need to trust that person. Yes, we have independent verification, but I still need to trust the data going in, right? So garbage in, garbage out. GIGO, that's something that you learn in like undergrad. So blockchain could help with certain parts, but just simple auditing, like you can just use an accountant that is an independent third party. Right? There's no publicly traded company that needs blockchain to ensure good governance and transparency.
Standardized reporting
Standardized reporting structures. That's exactly what Kyle says. It's in here. Standardized reporting structures, like what's your ministry doing, right? I should be able to compare apples and apples, not apples to oranges. So all we have to do is just standardize reporting, collect the information, put it out in a timely manner, have a third party independently verified that we trust. That used to be the office of the contractor general. We've now created some new thing that clearly is not as effective as what we need. I think we need to do that. We have an auditor general in Jamaica who is not playing. She ain't good. So Jay Trey said the problem with the audit is that it happens after the fact. But that's not a problem, that's the point of audits. You do it once, it then teaches you where you have gaps, and then you fix it for the next one. And then you keep improving. The idea is that you can, there's a book that says measure what matters. You can only improve what you're measuring. And so you audit, then I can track and improve and improve and improve. So he's saying trust is evaporating faster than the ozone. I don't disagree. I don't see an exodus with 5 flights a day for Jamaica this time, right? This is not the 1970s. Trust is not evaporating as fast as we think. If trust was evaporating faster than the ozone in Jamaica, we would see massive marches just like we see in Hong Kong. We would see the stuff that we saw with Occupy Wall Street. We don't have none of that happening. So there is actually, there is enough trust that people are not that fed up to go out and march. And we don't want it to reach that point. We need to be very careful that it doesn't reach that point. There are limits to where people will actually, say them, well, I can't take it no more. Some straw is going to break the camel's back. Clearly we haven't broke the camel's back yet. Jamaica back strong. My goodness, we clearly have, it's a strong back. But we need to get rid of that. So as Kyle said, right, it's standardized reporting procedures. We need transparency, good governance. You need the auditing, and then it points out where we have defective, systems. So where's the systems? Who's doing the training? Where's the capacity building? We have good governance best practices. We actually send people. We've sent both opposition and current administration. We've sent a whole bunch of people all over the world. I know some of them that have gone to Singapore and done training on governance, understand central government, all these things, right? The IDB does this stuff, the World Bank does this stuff, USAID funds these things. So we have people going out there to do train the trainer model and bring it back. Why isn't it being implemented? I think we all know the answer for that, and so resident Jamaicans need to sort of out. Because you vote and you live here. The diaspora doesn't live in Jamaica. We care about our families, we care about the future of Jamaica, but we don't think that we should care more than the people who live under those politicians, live under those systems. It's not fair for us to care more. We are not smarter. You are here and you should tell us where you need help to implement things, and then we are going to want governance and transparency and third-party independently verified audits for us to then actually share and support. So we've gone way over time, but that's because we had some issues on the Facebook side. So I'm probably going to keep talking to Facebook since we missed a lot of this stuff that we're talking about on Instagram. But I was hoping to get more questions on Facebook. I've not really seen any questions, but I got some here from Instagram, and I'd love any other questions or suggestions that you have. I'd love to get them, but it's really unfortunate in my opinion that we're sitting, it's literally, look how thick the book is. Vision 2030, everything is written here. If you have an issue with something in Jamaica, I guarantee I can find it in this book. I actually tested people. I posted it on Twitter months ago, and people would send me something, and I told them the page that it was on. I would tell them, here's the page number, go and see. So where can you find the document, Vision 2030? I would say the best way is actually Google Jamaica Vision 2030. You'll find the website, and then you can actually download the document. Is there one for the US? The US's vision document literally is a declaration of independence of the US Constitution. They don't have a long-term vision. Very few countries actually have something like this. That is a written national development plan. The United States does not have one, and that is part of the reason that things keep flipping back and forth. So don't use that as an example. That's why I live in the US. That's why we have the problem we have right now. There's no agreement on the destination you want to get to. So everybody's trying to do something. This document in Jamaica was created with input from both political parties. I should say all three, the NDM as well. It was created with private sector and public sector input church, everybody gave input into this document. So this is supposed to be an agreed direction for where the country is going. And then we actually created reports. We're supposed to get a report every 3 years, a medium term report. And I have that one somewhere, it's a smaller document. But Vision 2030 is available as a PDF, and you can download it, mark it up, print it. You'll be very shocked and you're going to be disappointed. And we have an election coming up, should be in 2020. It would be nice to ask, so here's what we're supposed to be doing. How are you graded against that? Just everybody, that's what you should be doing. We get graded in school. When we apply for a job, they're going to look at our grades, right? So they measure us. Are we not measuring politicians? When they tell us exactly what they're supposed to do with actual numbers. Murder rate by this point, 2015. Well then, hello. I mean, they have the same outcomes for education, you know. So, but if you don't know that it exists, then you don't even know to measure them. Most people don't know that Vision 2030 exists. Don't know they can get it, so they've never read it. If you've never read it, it means they can't hold anybody accountable. And if you don't want to be held accountable, you're not going to tell anybody that it exists. So that's why we don't seem to talk that much about the Vision 2030 document. But I'm going to change that. I want to make sure we talk a lot about it. I think there are really, really good ideas in here. Some of them need to be updated now that we've seen technology. We talk about blockchain as something. We could integrate that. Let's give a simple example. Land titles. We have a problem in Jamaica with land titles. And we have farmers who are asset rich but cash poor. So they inherit the land and then they have a problem with getting loans because they need collateral for a loan. That's how banks work. You don't want them to lend out your money without collateral because it's your savings in the bank. I used to work at a bank in Jamaica, so I kind of agree with that one. So how do you get those people to get your land title? Well, how about digitizing it? Instead of a piece of paper and stand up something like blockchain for land titles makes complete sense, and they're doing it in Haiti, and they're doing it because they had an earthquake that basically destroyed the entire spots of the country, and they get to leapfrog. So we can use technology. Yeah. When this was written, we weren't talking about IoT, right? The Internet of Things, where we can do tracking, we can do a whole bunch of stuff. We didn't have drones that we could implement for security. We can talk about freedom, but drones didn't really exist at that point. Drones were the things that went and bombed people. So that's something that we need to update this for 2020 and say, here's the last 10 years, here's what we're going to get done, here's how we're going to integrate new technologies, here's how we can bring down costs. So JTred on Instagram is asking me, does this document include policy planning for tech, health, etc.? So since I didn't walk you through what this thing actually includes, I'm going to give you every single thing that it includes. And so remember, so we have 4 national goals. Number 1, Jamaicans are empowered to achieve their fullest potential. Goal number 2, the Jamaican society is safe, cohesive and just. Number 3, Jamaica's economy is prosperous. And number 4, Jamaica has a healthy natural environment. And remember, the whole goal of this is that Jamaica is a place to live, work, raise families and do business. But those of us who choose to live in the diaspora clearly don't think that Jamaica is a place to live, work and raise families. I'm doing business here, some of them won't. I disagree with that one. I think it's a great place to do business. We're going to walk through what these national outcomes are actually supposed to be. I tweeted them earlier today, so that the 15 outcomes. And you're probably going to be a little bit shocked. So this is chapter 3, it starts off, it says national outcomes. So we're going to walk through the national outcomes. Number 1, a healthy and stable population. Right? We need human capital if the country is going to grow, if it's going to actually do stuff. And the people can't be sick for them to go work. Number 2, world-class education and training. And we have to admit, if they're clamoring to get our doctors, our nurses, our teachers, clearly we're doing something world-class. So, world-class education and training, we need that to go further. I hope that video just ended on Instagram. That's fine. I'll save it. And I'll probably start another one. Number 3 is effective social protection. Right? We want effective social protection, and that's more focused on children and families and women. Now, that is in there. Number 4 is authentic transformational culture. Well, authentic and transformational culture. Number 5, security and safety, which is what we just talked about. I'm going to kick off this, continue the live feed here. And we'll kick that one off. Alright, so guys, we cut off when this was happening, I'm going to start wrapping up, but we're going through the national outcomes again. Number one, healthy and stable population. Number two, world-class education and training. Number three, effective social protection. That tends to be more on the vulnerable community side and women and children. Number four, authentic and transformational culture. Number five, security and safety. That's what I spoke about today. Number six, effective governance. We touched on that today as well. Number seven, a stable macroeconomy. One day in the future we will talk about that one. Number eight, an enabling business environment. Certainly Jamaica has been doing really well now on the economic numbers. If you're looking at, we're seeing fluctuations in terms of jobs, but our growth rate is 10 times what it's ever been historically, so for the last 20 years. We have a stable exchange rate, we have low inflation, so things are happening, things are moving. The stock market is not the economy. The stock market is the best performing in the whole world for the last 5 years. So we do have an enabling business environment. We have our ways to go to. And we actually rank really high in the doing business in index, BBI. We want to have strong economic infrastructure. So that's happening. We want energy security and efficiency. Jamaica is working on that. I just got to tour Wigton Wind Farm on Sunday. I'm going to share those pictures on Instagram. And that was amazing. And they're going to have another phase. Phase 4 will come out. We have one of the largest solar PV installations in the entire Caribbean. So that exists now. They'll have more phases. So we're getting there. There's more that needs to be done. Then we talk about a technology-enabled society. And I want to get 100 megabits per second right here in Jamaica. That exists. That is not crazy expensive. So that exists. Internationally competitive industry structures. And they get into specific industries to tag. Agriculture is not internationally competitive in Jamaica. Let's look at what's happening with sugar. Look at what's happening with coffee. Right? Manufacturing, not internationally competitive. Again, the cost of electricity is too high. We want mining and quarrying to be internationally competitive. Construction, creative industries, we talked about that last week. Sport, definitely internationally competitive there. We set the bar. Information and communications technology, ICT. Jamaica is ideally suited for nearshoring. Instead of going to India, you come to Jamaica instead. We're on the same time zone as the United States on the East Coast. We are on 10-minute flight from Miami. We speak English. We're the third largest English-speaking country in the Western Hemisphere. US, Canada, Jamaica. It's a no-brainer. We're also speaking English as our first language, and we're fairly westernized, similar to the US and Canada. So, and you can use technology, ICT to do that. And we can move up the value chain. So that's important. Don't just answer calls. We can do more than that. We can offshore accounting. We can do telemedicine. That makes sense. We want to be internationally competitive in services. And we want to be internationally competitive in tourism. So number 13 for national outcomes is sustainable management and use of environmental and natural resources, right? The land of wood and the water. We want hazard risk reduction and adaptation to climate change. That was written in 2007. Sounds like the SDG, right? Sustainable Development Goals. And then finally, we want sustainable urban and rural development. Sustainable urban and rural development. That is something that we really have some issues. If you look at Kingston from a satellite map on Google Maps, it's a concrete jungle. If you look at Singapore, with more people from our map, you'll be very surprised. If you look at Costa Rica, with a Google map, and you'll understand the difference. We need more green spaces, we need less concrete. Concrete reflects heat, that's only going to make it worse for us. You can't cut down trees. Trees cool the place. Right? We can't mine in the country. How is that even a discussion right now? Come on, guys. We're talking about beach erosion. Have you been to Hellshire recently? Because I don't think there's a beach there anymore. I mean, we need to actually think about these things. Sustainable urban and rural development examples exist all over. So that is me for today. I think we've covered quite a lot. I hope that you like what I've talked about, and we'll actually go out and try and get a digital copy. Download it. I don't think you can get physical copies anymore, but go online, Google Jamaica Vision, Vision 2030 Jamaica. The website is there as well. And this was done by the Planning Institute of Jamaica, and you can get a copy, read it, and you'll be very, very surprised at what is already written in here and how many of the issues we've identified. But it's unfortunate. This was published in 2009. They've been working it from 2007. So, and it has a whole lot of figures. about Jamaica that would be really surprising and disappointing. So let us strive to be as good in fighting crime, fighting corruption, as we are sprinting. Let's stop talking about how many gold medals we have as sprinters, and let's start talking about how low our murder rate is compared to the rest of the world. That is my challenge to you guys today. Looking forward to next week, Wednesday, same time, same place, and we'll do the Instagram fan as well. Thank you for the questions. Big up the Kyle from Real Vibe Studios and our little Mevo. I kind of like this device, so really appreciate it. Looking forward to next week. I think I need to drink some water now. I've been talking too long. Later. One love. Big up. Respect everybody.